Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this video. This is a postmortem of a over-the-board chess game that I played last week at the club. I'm going to present this in a slightly different manner because this game has a little bit of a mystery associated with it. And the mystery is, where did I go wrong? And so I want you to be thinking about this, where did I go wrong question as I go through the video. I'm just going to present it in my normal style, and then at the end I'm going to go back to some earlier points and try and discover where my earlier mistakes were. I think it's kind of interesting. This is the process I went through when I was analyzing the game afterwards, and it wasn't so obvious to me what my mistake had been, so it took me a while to dig out the truth. And hopefully you guys will enjoy it. So let's get to the game. My opponent kicks off with d4. He likes to play the London system, so we get into the London system very quickly. I play knight f6. Just in case he wants to play c4, I can go into the Nimzo Indian. But he plays knight f3, and I play d5. And then bishop f4, the London system. So I go with c5. This is a typical kind of response, just trying to undermine the center a little bit, put the question to the bishop, to the pawn here on d4, put the question to white how he wants to defend that pawn. And he played the unusual move knight c3 here. This is not his typical reply. Normally, white players playing the London system, and this player in particular, play e3 here, a very typical kind of move. And then later follow up with c3 and build that really solid pawn triangle. Okay, so we're getting a slightly different variation of the London system after knight c3. In a way, this is sort of a hybrid opening. The knight c3 combined with the early bishop. If the bishop had gone to the g5, what's that square? Yeah, the g5 square. If the bishop had gone to g5 instead of to f4, then this would have been the Veresov attack, sort of like a Chigorin defense reversed. But the bishop is on f4 like a London system, and the knight is on c3. So it's a bit of a hybrid of those two openings. Anyway, I play e6, so we're doing fine so far. He plays e3. And now I'm a little bit worried about this move, knight to b5 check. Not check, knight to b5 with the threat of the knight coming into c7, supported by the bishop. You always have to watch out for this idea when the bishop is on f4 and the knight comes here. Or even from a3, it can get anywhere it can get to b5. It's a potential danger. Now, if we back up a step, I didn't have to worry about it here, right after knight c3, because after e6, if you were to play knight b5 at this point, trying to make this threat, I have the move queen a5 check, and that's a double attack on the queen and the knight, which is not protected, and so the knight has to go back. And that basically gains a tempo for black and is good. But in this position, after e3, which is what my opponent played, now I do have to worry about it because the bishop is supporting the knight on the b5 square, so this check is not going to have any particular effect. He can just block it with a pawn, for example, and this threat to c7 will remain. So I play a6, keeping the knight out of b5. He chose to take my pawn here. He takes c5, and bishop takes. So that was his idea. Instead of committing to supporting the center with the pawns on c3 and d4, he just develops his knight to a good square and gets rid of the pawn on d4, so he no longer has to worry about defending it, and it opens up some lines. And he's got slightly better development. He's got 3 pieces out. I only have 2, and it's his move, because I had an extra pawn move here where I played a6. So he plays bishop d3, very logical, straightforward attacking moves. I play knight c6, and he castles. And I play the move bishop to d7 here. I was a little unsure what to play at this spot. I was thinking a little bit about this move bishop to d6, just trying to counteract the effect of this bishop on f4. But I always have this question about the London system, which is, this is, in principle, this is his bad bishop, but it's outside the pawn chain, so maybe I shouldn't think of it that way. And so it seems like bringing the bishop back here, this is my good bishop, right? Because I have all these holes in my pawn structure on the dark squares, and this bishop can take advantage of it. So it seems strange to me that I'm trading my my good bishop for his bad bishop. And maybe it's the thing to do in the London system. Anyway, I put off a decision on that by playing bishop d7. But that also loses control of the d6 square here a little bit. And he pushes on immediately, since I haven't castled yet. I was wanting to get all my pieces out before I castles. He pushes on immediately with e4. So I took the pawn. I didn't want to allow him to push further and harass my knight. And so he took back with his knight. I took. And he took with the bishop. And now my original plan was to castle right here. But there's actually a problem with castling. So if you want a little tactics quiz, what's the problem with castling right here? Okay, pause the video if you want some time to think about it. It's not an immediate tactic, but it's quite good. If I castle, I'll go ahead and put it on the board and show it. I'm going to show the answer now, so last chance to pause the video. He can play bishop takes h7, the famous Greek gift sacrifice. My pieces are all here away from the king side, and my king is exposed. If I just move my king to h8, his pieces are going to flood in anyway. The knight's going to come here, the queen's going to come here, and he's got a monster attack. So actually my best move is to take the bishop and try and survive the attack, but then knight g5 check. The king's best square is to come forward to g6, but after queen d3, this is winning for white. Let's see, I could go on a few more moves. It looks like I have to play f5 here to block the attack, but basically white has a winning attack there. So I was aware of that. I've seen this kind of attack in these types of setups with the London system. And in fact, I even played a game against this opponent earlier where he used this attack idea against me. So I play h6 to put a stop to some of those ideas and to set up for castling. So my opponent played bishop to d6, a really funny move, but it's like I said, by placing my bishop on d7, I'd given up a little control of the d6 square, and so he's going to put this bishop here, supported by his queen, and my bishop really has nowhere to go at this point. I decided to protect the bishop with queen b6, and he just traded it off. He wanted to get rid of that bishop, and then played c3 to defend his pawn weakness here. I guess he wanted to have the freedom here with his bishop to and his queen. He can move his bishop and his queen now without having to worry about babysitting this c3 pawn. The pawn when it was on c2 would have needed constant care. So I could finally castle here. I played rook to d8 first. He played queen to e2, and I castled. And now my opponent played rook f to d1, the f rook. And here I was thinking, oh, well, finally, I was kind of struggling through the last several moves trying to figure out how to get all my pieces out. But now that I finally have castled and got most of my pieces developed, I guess they're all out at least off the back rank. I was starting to feel a little bit easier, but as I looked at this position more, I found it difficult to find a move. For one thing, if I move this knight away, this pawn on b7 is hanging. I want to move this knight because this bishop has no moves. This bishop has really nowhere to go except backwards until that knight moves. And so that was my thinking when I played this move b5. But this gets me in a little bit of trouble. Let's go on and show a few more moves. a4. And I leave that there. I think if he takes, it's not too bad. And knight to e7, finally getting my knight out of the way, and the bishop defends over here, so I'm feeling like this is okay. And he plays knight e5, bringing his pieces forward. So you see he's got a really active position. His rooks and queen are all doing something. His pieces are in the center of the board, and he's looking at a lot of squares over here. And I decided I wanted to try and trade off these pieces. So I played the move bishop c6. And this actually is the losing move. And so this is another tactics quiz for you. See if you can find White's refutation to this bishop c6 move. Okay, I am going to give the answer away. White can just take that. And I should probably take back with the queen. No, I can't take back with the queen. It's defended by the knight. I have to take back with the knight. That was the whole idea. I have to take back with the knight. And then he has the move knight d7, and that's the tactic. It's a fork of the queen and the rook. And so White's just winning here. I should probably cut my losses and take the knight with the rook. But this is not a happy situation. You see, I'm down the exchange, and not only that, but I have the worst position. He's got the ability to bring his other rook over to and double on this file, and he has control of the only open file on the board, in addition to having being up the exchange. But that would have been the lesser of the various evils. I tried to get a little bit tricky, tried to get active with my queen here. I was thinking, well, I'll protect things here and try and make some threats. Maybe I can get my knight active. So he took my rook, and I decided to trade rooks first before recapturing the knight. And that was my final mistake. Cancel that. He didn't take with the rook, which is what I was expecting. He took with the queen. And now I'm really in big trouble, because if I take the knight, I didn't play this. If I take the knight, he comes here with check and picks up my knight, and so he's just up a whole rook. So no good can come of taking the knight. I tried knight e5 to see if I could maybe keep him out of this, keep his knight trapped, but his knight can come out via d7. And so I resigned at this point. So it was a real sudden disaster at the end. I just collapsed. So let's back up. Starting with this move, bishop to c6. This gives the game away. So that was not the mystery. The mystery was earlier. The question is, why did I feel like I was struggling through most of this game? How did White end up in this position where he's got all of these good pieces, and all of my pieces are cramped and miserable? And so I started working my way backwards through the game, looking for little mistakes. And this b5 move, that was a mistake. Let's erase some of the arrows. Like I said, I was trying to protect that pawn. But actually, the chess engine has a very interesting suggestion. It says I should just play bishop to c8. You know, you don't often think about these backwards moves. But that protects the pawn, so now the knight is free to move. Not only that, but it opens up a file. So right at this point, White is still better here. So I've done something wrong even before this point, but that b5 move contributed to my difficulties. And so the right way to try and liberate my position was not this b5 and maneuvering the pieces around, but playing bishop c8 and preparing a knight move. Okay, so that was one mistake. But even so, even in this point, I'm having trouble finding moves. I think I thought I was doing fine if we back up. Right here, after bishop takes e4, we just finished this exchange in the center, and I was just playing to castle. And right here I realized, so up until this point I thought I'd been doing fine. Right here I realized actually things were not so rosy, because I can't castle at this point because of the Greek gift sacrifice that I showed. So my mistake was somewhere earlier in the game than this. And that's what's mysterious about this game, is that up until this point I thought I was doing fine, and I thought I was playing natural and correct moves, but somehow there must have been a mistake in there, because I shouldn't find myself in this awkward position. So let's back up and see where the mistake was. So right here is one place where the engine has a different idea. In fact, the engine has a different assessment of this situation than I do. The engine thinks right here I'm still more or less equal, and that my mistake was taking the pawn, and that's when I started going downhill. But the way the engine wants to play this is very strange. So look at this. instead of taking the pawn, it wants to play d4, counterattacking the knight. And then it thinks that, well, white could play e4 here and get a good position, but also just knight to e2, attacking this overextended pawn and still threatening to play e5 and harassing me. And let's see, how might this continue? Knight h5. Knight h5 is a good idea, going after the bishop. So bishop goes to g5, hitting my queen, and queen to c7. And maybe this is a playable line. And then c3 here to undermine my advanced pawn. It thinks I should play something like this at that point where white just played e4 rather than exchanging. And to me, this looks very unnatural. I would say, you know, why am I being forced to play all of these moves? Have I made some mistake earlier that's left my position in kind of an awkward state that I'm forced to play this move? So, you know, if I could play like a computer, then I could say, okay, I haven't really made any mistakes up to this point. It's just that after e4, I have to find these aggressive moves that will salvage my position. But I wasn't quite satisfied with that answer. Somehow, also there's d4. I also have to reckon with d4 and e5. Well, actually, the chess engine likes black here. Keep taking. Another kind of crazy line where it thinks black comes out a little bit ahead. Let's see, it's black's turn here. Rook to g8, stopping the pawn, and rook to b1. Another very strange position. But the engine thinks black is a little bit better here. That's why it was recommending the e2 line after d5. So maybe I mean I'm sure the chess engine is correct. So I could have gotten a good game by playing d5 here and hitting his knight. So that's maybe the answer to my mystery. But I still felt that would seem like a unnatural move, and I wasn't quite sure why I was having trouble, why I should be in this position where I have to find these strange moves. And also I wasn't sure why isn't this normal? This kind of capture is just very typical in the London system. Why is this not working? So I backed up further, and we get to this point. Maybe, I was thinking, maybe it was because here, instead of, let's see, after castles, knight c6, castles, bishop d7, maybe instead of bishop d7, I should have played bishop here and just gotten this bishop off the board. And, well, this is a playable line, too. I could play like this. And he could still push on with e4, I think. Yeah, e4 is still a move. Knight e2. e4 and castles. Or once again, the engine wants me to play d4 here, or castles. So I guess that's a way to play. And that's a partial answer to the mystery, is exchanging off that dark squared bishop is a good idea in the London system, and that would help. It would stop me from getting into trouble later. But there was one other point, which is right here. This move, knight c6. This, ultimately, I think the engine rates this position as about even, and after knight c6, it still rates it as about even. So the engine does not think this move is a mistake. But in retrospect, I think it's a mistake. I think I have to play, given the setup here, I think I need to play knight b to e7. And the reason is that when, let's go on a few moves. Say he castles, and I castle, and he plays e4. This is what the player with the white pieces is going for. You know, he's got his bishops developed actively. He just wants to open up the position. Sometimes he wants to set up a battery with his queen if he's moved this pawn out of the way. So when this happens, you want to be able to take. And then when he takes, you want to be able to take back. And then when he takes again, you want to bring this bishop, the one that you placed on d7, you want to bring that to f6 to hit this piece, and it drops back. And you gain a tempo, and more importantly, you get another defender for your king side. So you don't run into any of these problems with the Greek gift attack. So that was my conclusion. So let's back up to this position where I played knight c6 right here. So in a way, the chess engine is saying there's nothing wrong with knight c6, but you have to play with a different idea in mind. A knight on c6 is not defending this knight on f6, it's attacking the d5 square. So when you play knight c6, you must be playing this with the idea of pushing the d pawn forward. And I guess that's why I found the positions in this game a bit unnatural, as I wasn't thinking of the right plans. I was thinking of the plans that apply when the knight is on d7, which involve exchanging and bringing a replacement knight to f6. But when the knight is on c6, it's not serving as a replacement knight. So in a way, you can think of this as a choice. You have a choice of two different plans here. And if you're playing knight d7, what your plan is you're trying to defend against the e4 advance by exchanging and then exchanging knights and bringing another knight in to replace it. So this move, knight to d7, is a way of adding a defense to the d4 indirectly, adding a defense to the e4 square. Whereas when you play the move, okay, let's erase those squares. When you play the move knight to c6, what you're really doing is you're attacking these squares, d5, d4, and e5, and your plan should not be revolved around defending this square, which you no longer have an extra defender for, but it should be more around this d5 push, d5 to d4. So that was my conclusion from the game, and I thought that was pretty interesting. It took me a while sort of doing a bit of exploration using the chess engine to track this down. So on the quick pass, that's where I think I started going wrong, was this knight c6. And not that it was a mistake in itself, but it put me into unfamiliar territory, so that if we go forward from here, well, first of all, let's back up from the beginning and take a look at the game with this new insight. So we get a typical London system setup, except for knight c3, a bit unusual. But I think the lessons apply to both setups, with the c3 as well as the this knight c3 idea. You typically want your knight to come to d7 in these London system setups. Okay, so I was doing a reasonable job defending against the threats so far. We get to this point, and I take the pawn back, and he's helped me by exchanging. I was feeling pretty good about my position at this point, and I just developed the knight to c6, thinking it was the most natural square to develop it to. But this was the first point at which I could have considered something different, and this is also the first step in going down the wrong road. And now here, when I played bishop d7, I could have considered exchanging bishops first. And then right here, I need to push on with d5 rather than exchanging. And after that, the game just goes downhill after the exchange. And so you can see this. I have no knight over here, and he's got a good development, good centralization of his pieces, and this pressure makes it difficult for me to continue my development. And the proof of this is that I have to even play h6 before it's even safe to castle. And the game continued from there, where white maintained the pressure throughout the game. And finally, this b5 move was not the best way to unravel my pieces over here. And then this move, bishop to c6, was the ultimate, the ultimate cause of my downfall. And I'll just take it up to the end of the game. That fork wins material, and then right here after knight d7, I resigned, and that's how the game ended. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, learned a little something about the London system and similar openings. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.